Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director, and we're back. I'm here with my co-host, Tate, oh captain, my captain, making sure you have your mask on, Mathews. Appreciate you being here.
Glad to be back, Coach Joins. I'm excited. Took a trip down the Cumberland watershed. I'm excited to be back with Creed and Lance and Heather and the crew. Talk a little Wilco football. Who's going to be the first boat race city, popcorn city of the season? Volleyball, soccer, it's exciting times. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And by the way, you can take your mask off. For our viewers out there, I know we're trying to be COVID appropriate, right, in terms of our mask, but we are actually social distance here. You may not be able to tell it because sometimes a picture doesn't always tell the true story.
We're 6 feet apart.
The heads are 6 feet apart, so we're well within our guidelines. Tate, it did not look, well, maybe it did. What did you think? Did you think we would be talking about football, week one, having a contest?
I did, and I tried to tell people that without telling people that, but I thought we would.
What made you say that, by the way? Because a lot of people thought the complete opposite.
I just thought from the conversations that were coming out of the TWSAA that, you know, it's like we've talked about. Whether you think they do a good job, bad job, doesn't matter. They're good people. And when they kept saying, all I can tell you is you need to be getting acclimated in the helmets and then the helmets and the shoulder pads. I just believed that whatever they were being told by the governor's office led them to believe they were going to be able to start on time. So I just don't think if they thought they weren't going to start on time, they'd have been telling Coach Webb or Coach Blade or to be acclimating, you know. And so I thought it was coming. That's a whole different show that I think we could do a great one on. I don't know what the right or the wrong call was. I'm just mad if you knew you weren't going to play, and I know this isn't why you asked the question, but if you knew you weren't going to play till after Labor Day, why didn't you just say that? Hey, you can start on August 21st, but we're not. You know, and now we got a BRENTWOOD NOLENSVILLE game out of it, which is awesome, but like, you know, that as if there wasn't enough stress on Coach Crawford and Coach Blair and Mr. Cotdell. Oh gosh, we got to find our first 2 games all over again. So that's not what you asked, but I always thought we were playing August 21st.
Well, and I think both of us are glass half full people. We were trying to stay positive. And I will say this now, because it wasn't an easy decision from the district standpoint either. I'll give credit to Mr. Golden and Dr. Webb and those people who... And
the county athletic director.
Well, I appreciate that. But the folks that make the ultimate decision, Fletch, our safety and security director, Michael Fletcher, putting us on a path where we could get ready and then have our first games. Now, there were some sports, it was kind of a no-brainer, right? Cross country, golf, because you can tend to stay away from one another. It's those contact sports as defined by the governor, correct. Girls soccer and football that were in question. And that has impacted how we train in those other sports. Even though, you know, basketball can do some things right now and wrestling can do some things, we have sort of reeled it in a little bit as a district saying, let's get those sports that have contests coming up, let's get those going, and then we'll try to loosen some things up for those sports as well.
And I agree with that. I think that's the only way you can do it. We've talked a lot about it in football, but girls soccer or ladies soccer, they scrimmage too. So don't forget they've lost their scrimmages too. So it's changed everything for everybody, but you know, everybody's in the same boat at least. So, but I think the general opinion is, hey, we're playing. We're happy to be back, and whatever we got to do, and I know we're going to talk some of that, but you know, whatever we got to do. Every coach that I've talked to said, no, that's not ideal, or that's not ideal. But if that's what it takes to let these kids have their senior season, then that's what we'll do.
Well, and speaking of which, the spectators at the game, that's a whole nother deal. TWSAA says it probably looks like a third or a fourth, depending on how you set up your stands. And the third's probably close for us, but we're also getting creative in terms of where we can put fans.
Right.
Putting bands in the end zone has been a pretty common theme. No visiting team bands, so it doesn't take up more room than needed. Even though those folks are very much
That's
a
pretty
big
cool,
part.
Actually.
Well, it's a big part of what we do. David Adelett, our fine arts director, just a great guy, big sports fan. That was his idea, really, about hey, let's limit it to home. Let's try to put them in the end zone. That way we can try to get more fans in the stands. And then you think about places like Fairview and Centennial, those hills that they have. You're going to see some seating in those areas as well throughout the district, which I think is fantastic.
Without a doubt. I think it's great. And again, you know, we still get to have it. You know, I mean, it's a one-year deal, hopefully. And, you know, you play the hand dealt you. And I guess parents are getting first, parents of the players are getting first dibs on the tickets. I don't know if you all have made that decision yet or no. Season ticket holders or.
Well, so here's what's happening. In most,
I mean, there's every time I think, or I bet y'all have been through this, not to cut you off, but every time you think you've thought of everything, somebody goes, hey, what about this, right? I mean, there's no telling how much time y'all have spent on this.
Well, I give the district, the athletic directors at the individual schools, not only at the middle school level, but the high school level as well, for working on this. So the agreement in our county is we're going to provide 300 tickets to the visitors. You decide what you're doing with that. Are you going to give them to your parents? Are you going to give them to your students? What are you going to do? For most schools at home, they're doing some version of reserve seating.
Yep.
And then they're trying to figure something out for their students as well. And then if for some reason we have tickets left over, no way. I mean, our tickets will be gone.
Gone.
I mean, you can it'll be over. I don't think we'll ever get to the point, at least in the WCS matchups, where there are tickets that go out to the general public. I just don't see that happening.
I don't either.
Now, maybe if we're playing a non-district or non-county opponent, maybe, but still then, don't see it. So it is, I would, if I'm an athletic director at one of these schools, I want to be on the road game one. See what the things that happened week one. Hey, there's some things we did well. Here's some things we can do better. It's ever evolving. This is just a time that if you don't have patience and flexibility, you're going to struggle.
You're going to struggle. And I hope the fans showing up realize that. There's a good chance you're going to be dealing with a volunteer. Let's try to remember that that person is volunteering their time. And they're just being told, they're just doing what they were told to do by the guidelines that the schools and the county set forth, right?
Absolutely. And I tell you what also happens. We use a ticketless system through GoFan. You're familiar with Patrick Knowles and GoFan. I think you're going to see the great majority of tickets, definitely for football, but the other sports too, through GoFan, because then you have to touch cash.
Right.
I can walk up with my phone. I can redeem my own ticket, which again I think is the right thing to do in terms of mitigating. How about those words? Mitigating the spread of the virus.
I agree. That was strong right there. You need to
I've been working
can
on
that.
I've been looking. What was the guy's name? Jack Handy. Was that the guy from Saturday Night Live where he looks
Deep
at himself?
thoughts.
He looks at himself, and I worked on that.
That was very good. Mitigating.
I'm good. What is the most famous, do you think, Jack Handy episode? When he had Jordan.
Mike, I didn't see that one. I kind of took a break during that time.
I'm good enough. What's he say? I'm good.
Oh,
enough.
is that Jack Handy?
Isn't that Jack Handy?
I thought Jack Handy was.
Oh, that's
deep.
right.
You're thinking of Martin Short. I'm good enough, and by golly, I like myself.
Yes,
that one. Yeah, I don't know his name.
Are we going to have to get rid of this segment, Mr. Producer? We're just going to. This is the first week. It's like our mulligan.
This feels like me and Qualls. Usually you're good about staying on task. That was very Qualls-esque. That spiraled out of control.
Okay, let me reel it back in.
Gotcha.
And speaking of mulligans, let's talk a little golf. So we're going to talk about some of our other fall sports. Football, obviously, we're going to get to in a minute. Golf, if you take a look at golf, obviously Franklin High School, coming off a boys state championship last year. They've got Morris and Wilcox to replace, so obviously on the boys side, very strong as always. But when I think Wilco golf right now, I think of Shelly Yang, Ravenwood High School.
I mean, it seems like she's been there since the last 6 years. But so obviously she was very good as a freshman, because you're right. It seems like every year that's the name you hear. So, and she's back. I would say that puts Ravenwood in a good. That gives them a good chance to be very successful as a team this year with her. She's strong. And
on the boys' side, if you remember, Ravenwood lost a controversial, you know, the team moving on, and then Franklin ends up winning the whole thing. Ravenwood was right there too. They have a lot of their team back on the boys' side too. So I think you'll see the usual names, Brentwood, Franklin, Ravenwood, but I think on the boys' side too, got to feel like Teddy, Mr. October now? Is he, or September? Is it September?
Mr. September,
yes. We used to be Mr. May.
Mr. May.
Now he's going to be Mr. September. I feel like Ravenwood may be the team to beat on the boys' side too.
Well, the two, losing Morris and for Franklin, that's tough to replace. So I would think Franklin disagrees with you, but yes, I think Ravenwood's a very nobody can argue with that pick.
Brentwood will have something to say about it too.
They'll be in it for sure.
Let's talk volleyball a little bit. Obviously, a sport.
Do you have a?
Let me go out on a limb here. I feel like Brentwood High will have a great chance to win. Is it what, 8 in a row? If we think it's 7.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have a great chance to win 8 in a row. Barbara Campbell, we talk about her all the time, a legend, not only in this district, but really statewide and nationally as well. Over 1,700 wins as a coach, second all time for Coach Campbell. You got to feel like they have a great chance because they've got, oh, by the way, the Gatorade Player of the Year, Shea Eggleston, back.
Yes. Now, let me ask you this. What is more of a no-brainer? Brentwood is the preseason pick to win it, or Nolensville is the preseason pick to win it? Every single player came back.
I think I'm going to cop out and say it's equal. But if you made me choose,
you're going to go Brentwood. Just because of...
I'm going to go Nolensville.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm going to go Nolensville is because that level is not quite... And I think Nolensville would do well at the larger schools.
Right.
But I'm saying you put that team, everybody back in the lower division again. I don't know. Lower sounds terrible, but I'm saying that's
their enrollment.
That's right. They're AAA talent.
Well, we're going to find out because he's playing Brentwood, I think twice. He's playing Ravenwood, so I think that's great. Good for him. And
Coach Young, you're talking about.
Yeah.
Who does a great job. And by the way, Avery Young, state MVP, daughter of Coach Young, coming back. Lauren Starkey, there's another name we know. Yep. They're going to be tough.
They're going to be very tough. It's going to be fun. But I love that he's done that because you don't want to go all season not getting challenged. And he's got, I think, last year they played six AAA teams that made it to the state tournament, had wins against 3 of them. The losses were to Ravenwood and Brentwood. So, yeah, I would say we have a very good chance to have 2 back in Murfreesboro again in volleyball. Oh, well, no, 3, because we'll get 2 AAA teams. So
that's must-see early in the year. Nolensville, Brentwood.
Oh,
that's a heck of a match.
Yeah. Now, I was over there not too long ago, and they were talking about Eggleston and the sister too. But like you've seen them play.
Alabama commit.
I mean,
right?
Alabama commit, correct?
And then
yes.
Logan, of course, at Texas. What's she do? Miss Junior Olympics and all Big 12 freshman team.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just incredible. And she should have been a senior.
A senior, yes. She left a year early. Correct. Yeah. Think about that now.
It's incredible.
We need to get you know how like at the baseball we've got the radar that gets the speed, the miles per hour on the pitch. I want to know how fast her spike is coming because you got to respect those young ladies. I mean, I'd get out of the way.
But you also wouldn't serve with proper form. I mean, you do the old.
I'm an overhand. Buddy.
Oh, you are?
I've learned. I think you got. I don't know. Overhand. Jump serve. My beach volleyball days.
How about girls soccer? So last year we end up Brentwood really dominates the season. Ravenwood ends up winning the state championship. Brentwood runner-up, and then Nolensville with Coach Shelton also runner-up. And we have 2 new sheriffs in town for Ravenwood and Brentwood. Jessica Mancini at Ravenwood, Coach Maggie McLaughlin there at Brentwood High School. So even though new leadership at the helm, I can assure you they'll be ready to go. And Coach Michael Burgoyne and Franklin.
I was going to say Franklin.
I'm telling you, they're going to be tough too. They're going to be really tough. In fact, I guess it's their junior class now. That junior and sophomore class, I think I'm saying that right, are really, really strong classes there at Franklin.
We'll have, in AAA, we'll have 2 in Murfreesboro in soccer and volleyball.
You know what was interesting? When we were at the point where we were saying, hey, maybe we have to back the seasons up. Of course, we didn't do that. But when we were talking about it, my thought in soccer, it wouldn't have been as big a deal. Because if you're talking about football, well, I'm worried if Rutherford County's not, if they're playing and we're not. In soccer, we so dominate. Now, Clarksville's in there, they're good, right? From time to time, Hendersonville's been in there. But let's face it, our teams absolutely dominate soccer. So as long as we're able to play one another, I thought we were in good shape. Now, the soccer coaches would probably tell you different.
They want to play.
But,
I get it.
But as long as we play one another, that's what other competition do you need?
You're playing the best.
Playing the best. Let's talk cross country before we move on to football. On the boys' side, Brentwood last year finished 4th in the state. Franklin 6th, although Franklin had really had the better team throughout the year, but at the state, Brentwood finishes 4th. On the girls' side, Brentwood 2nd, Franklin 10th. Now, here's the thing I want you to think about. Brentwood, they finish 4th in boys, 2nd in girls. They lost one guy from the roster and 0 girls.
Yeah.
So you think they have a shot
I think
at
they
winning
have a
some
shot.
state championships?
I think they have a shot. Yeah.
No doubt about it.
It'll be them and Siegel probably, would be my guess.
What about when you think girls cross country in this county? There's a name that comes up.
Walters.
Right, from Page. But
Yes.
then also, don't forget the young puppy from Fairview, this defending state champion, only a sophomore, Alyssa Andrea.
Yep. As a freshman,
Unbelievable.
pretty strong.
What were
imagine
you and I doing as freshmen? Were we
Yeah.
competing for the cross country state championship? Although I'll tell you this, I ran cross country as a freshman.
I did not.
But let me tell you what happened. This is like typical coach.
They have cross country in Kentucky?
Well, so I don't. The rules at the time basically said you couldn't condition and work out during certain times of the year. Well, our basketball coach was also the cross country coach. He said, "Guess what, fellas? You're all running cross country." And I'm like, "I'm not. I don't want to run.
hate it?
I don't want to run cross country." It's like I didn't ask.
You playing basketball? You're running cross country.
I hated it.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would I run anywhere?
Well, I think more than any sport, that one is, if you're a cross country runner, you love it. I don't know that anybody.
And it takes some serious mental toughness.
Golly, are you kidding?
Which I feel like that we're talking cross country. And by the way, Kevin Vanderkolk last year for Brentwood finished 14th. Did want to mention his name as well as we're talking about individuals. But you mentioned Dr. Qualls earlier. He completed a half marathon on Saturday. I think Paula, that works with him in the office there, she actually told me coming in today. I said, "Hey, you guys completed the half marathon?" She said, "Yes, and I beat Jeremy."
She did?
Yeah, which I'm not saying that she could beat you and I too, but I noticed he left that little bit of
You didn't
information.
tell that part. That's great. No, hey, he'll bring up the high jumps.
In his Jordan shorts.
I'm very impressed that, hey, the fact that he completed it, it's
incredible.
Kudos to you, Mr. Dr. Qualls.
It's incredible. Shout out to him.
I think his wife, well, if he did it, that means his wife did it too. So.
And I assure you, she dominated him. Like
no doubt.
Her times are always
She
better
trains
than his.
harder.
And I mean, still great. You and I couldn't do it.
I respect anybody who completes that thing. That's unbelievable.
It is. All right, Tate. Without further ado, let's talk a little football.
Football.
I know that gets the most attention. Obviously, those other sports, they're just as important to those kids. I want to make sure we
100%.
talk about it. But let's talk football here. Here's some stats from 2019. I want you to see if I'm on my game yet. Region champions last year, Fairview, Page, Brentwood, which, by the way, was the exact same the year before. Those three were so back-to-back region champions. 8 of 9 of our teams make the playoffs. 6 win at least one game. State semifinals, obviously, in 4A, Nolensville, and then Ravenwood and Summit, as we have chronicled on this broadcast before, both runners-up, right, the state championship game in 5A and 6A. And we were talking about this before. They have in common, neither one won the region, but they make it all the way to the championship game. Pretty impressive.
Well, and you mentioned Summit was third.
Yeah.
Shelbyville was number 2, so got on a run, and they were a little beat up during it's a little misleading. Some of those region losses in the regular season. Well, no, it's not misleading. I mean, it is what it is. They played the game and they lost. They were beat up. in those games, got healthy, and then got on the run in 5A. But yeah, how cool is that? 2 runner-ups, and neither one of them won their region. That speaks volumes about the region. And the 8 for 9, that's always misleading here too. It's because with Ravenwood, Independence, Brentwood, and Franklin, Centennial, they can only take 4. One of them gets left out, but it's because of the region they're in.
We're not counting Dixon?
No. Okay. I love Dixon, but not right now. Now, one of our own's down there, Coach Burns, but no, right now they're not in that conversation.
Well, we go back to this too. I know we've mentioned this because everybody talks Rutherford County. Listen, outside of Oakland, it's not even close.
No.
What's Smyrna finish? They finished 3rd in the league or 2nd?
Well, they're over there. No. I think last year it was 3rd, but see, they're not they're in the Cane Ridge. They're in there with Metro, so it's Cane Ridge. And then Stewart's Creek and Smyrna are battling out for 2.
I understand.
It's not like they're over there with Oakland.
I understand, but we talk about that being such a strong county, right?
Correct.
County in general. They finish 2nd or 3rd, whatever it was in the league they were in. I mean, that's the league they're in, right? And they get dominated, not only by Independence in the playoffs again, right? But also Centennial. Yeah. Centennial finishes 3 and 7, and they absolutely dominated Smyrna.
Right.
I don't think it's close.
That's what I'm saying. If Centennial was in another region, they're in the playoffs. They're just in a region where there was 4. I'm talking about last year. And Franklin and Centennial have kind of been the last few years battling out that last one. Either one of them, any other region, they're in the playoffs.
All right, I've got some questions for you, Tate, so I'm going to rapid fire you a little bit. Is it a 5-peat region championship for Fairview?
Yes.
Because, what makes you say that?
I think they're better than everybody else in the region. And they have.
Okay, this is big time sports reporting right here.
That's the honest answer. 2, they've got Mr. Nardozzi coming back.
Yeah.
And he has got a chance. We had Mr. Kuchers last year, Mr. Football. We've got a chance if we can get our East Tennessee, West Tennessee bias out in the voting. I don't like the way that thing's done, but I think I could play tailback for Alcoa, and the East Tennessee people would vote for him. That's just getting that off my chest.
You know something to think about?
Got a chance.
Something to think about, and I said rapid fire, and we're still on question 1. Fairview. I think there's a chance that the Metro schools, are they going to play? How long is it going to? You think Coach Hughes would mind if some of those Metro teams didn't play? That's been a little bit of a thorn in their side. They're not going to be a thorn if they're not there.
That's right.
So, and I'm not saying Fairview, I think, will have a shot. They've got a really good team.
I do too.
They've got a lot of people back. They've got a really good. They got what's that color?
Fairview yellow. It's 103A or something like that.
It looks good.
Oh yeah.
Nardozzi came out for Media Day. By the way, shout out to Christian Taylor, who did a great job taking the pictures. His son Brooks, who also has a show. We need to get him in here someday to talk to him, but did a great job taking those pictures on that day. All right, Page High School.
Yes, I think they 5-peat.
Page High School. They were region champions 2 years ago for the first time in 19 years. I don't think anybody, I say anybody, I think Summit and Shelbyville was the pick for most people, right,
yes,
to win the region last year. Do they make another run? Can they go 3 in a row? Can they go for the old trifecta in your mind?
The 3-peat. I don't think so, no. I think they're going to be very good, but I think Summit's head and shoulders above everybody this year.
So Coach Rathbone, and I know he's watching out there, I guarantee he's using that as motivation.
He should.
Because he talks about that a lot, that they don't quite get the respect. Maybe that's true, but he's done a heck of a job.
It's worked well for him.
He's done a heck of a job selling it.
Yeah, it's nothing against Page. I just think Summit's that good this year.
Ravenwood. Can anyone stop them in 6A? Now, let's talk. I mean, Brentwood's won the region title two years in a row. But I think most of us would agree, making the semifinals and then making the championship, you would take that over a region title. So I'm saying ultimately, is anybody going to stop Ravenwood when it comes to how far they get in the postseason?
Well, they've got some questions that got to get answered pretty quick. Number one, let's look at, if anybody, let's say this, if anybody's going to stop them, it's crosstown rival Brentwood. You're replacing a guy who accounted at quarterback who accounted for over 100 touchdowns in 3 years. So it's always big shoes to fill, the quarterback, you know. But a guy who, think about that, over 100 touchdowns?
Wow.
That's hard to do. So now they've got a good one in Trevor Andrews, and Coach Daniels he's been talking about him since last year. They feel very confident in him. The offense is going to look a little different, but still, that's a big question mark, right? And then when you look over at Brentwood, they've got their stud quarterback coming back in Cade Granzow. No question mark there. So can anybody stop them? It'll have to be Brentwood.
How would you like, you know, Ravenwood's talking about people they've lost like Garcia and Andrew Mason and some others. But, we do have Jake Brenning still returning and Junior Colson. Two pretty nice high school players, wouldn't you say?
Well, as big of players and accolades and respect, I guess, that Graham got last year, Barton and Andrew Mason and them. Colson and Brenningstool they're going to be two of the biggest prospects, highly ranked prospects to ever come out of this county. You know, I mean, everybody wants those two. You know, I mean, they can go wherever they want. And so, well, Brenningstool's committed to Clemson. So right now,
and Colson, Michigan.
That's right. But he committed to over some other big ones, right? So, yeah, they're losing some big shoes, but they've got some really. Those two are. I'm telling you, last year, towards the end of the season, I don't know that anybody was playing better than Colson.
Let's talk about this. Here's kind of an interesting trend. Now, you may have to correct me on this. Coach Daniels, year 1, quarterfinals. Year 2, semifinals. Year 3, runner-up.
Who does that sound like? Hester.
Oh, is that what happened with him too?
Yeah. I don't know about the quarter, but yeah, got put out, then got put out by Whitehaven, then came back next year, got him, and went back-to-back years. No, yes. Are you saying is there a pattern? It sure looks like it.
Eerily similar. So there's only one. There's only one more thing for them. That's the championship again, which would be number 3.
That's right. And here's the great thing about whoever comes out of that Brentwood Ravenwood deal. Whitehaven's not playing until they're going to be behind the 8 ball. I don't know that any of us do, but I really don't know if any of the West Tennessee schools make it that far. And if they do, they're going to be missing a lot of games. And that's kind of how those teams do it. They get in their playing shape come playoffs. Whitehaven's always tough to beat. Not that they're scared of them, but I think more than ever that semifinal game, that quarterfinal game, whoever wins that one's going to the Blue Cross Bowl.
Well, in Shelby County in particular, they're not even close to practicing yet.
No.
Not yet. Now, you're talking about those outlying areas like Houston. If I'm not mistaken, they're Labor Day before they start.
At least.
So they're going to be – that's got to add to that, doesn't it? It has to add to it.
I think so.
All right, what about – and you mentioned Brentwood, and that was going to be my next question, but really we've covered it. Granzow, Walker Merrill, John House. There's a guy who's a big-time player. I'm looking forward to that matchup, and they'll probably have more than one again.
Oh, I think so too. There'll be Battle of the Woods Part 1 and Part 2 this year, and a little bit more explosive than they have been in the past few years. But I'm a big fan of Granzow. He's gotten even bigger. Got a Vanderbilt offer. Good for Vanderbilt,
An Auburn baseball offer.
Oh, yeah, he's had that. He got a Vanderbilt football offer, and it's kind of like Coach Crawford said. I don't know what they're looking for because this guy can do it all, and so glad to see him finally get it. But he's bigger. I'm telling you, man, he is tough to stop because if it's 3rd and short and they give it to him, more than likely it's just hard to get them off the field. Walker Merrill's a year older. What an explosive athlete he is. If they can figure out their offensive line, they're going to be tough to beat.
Summit, do they take the next step in your mind this year?
They got to get there, but if they get there, yeah, I think they will. They've got 2 of the best athletes anywhere in football, and they're just juniors. But, he likes the rest of his team too. He's got a lot of guys that can contribute as well, and that's the neat thing. Was talking to him this Saturday, Coach Coleman. You could give the ball to Keaton 30 times, or between Keaton and Destin, run the ball 40 times between the two of them, be fine. They spread it around, and Trey Hunter and Kanata Wirtz and Caleb Jolly. They've got guys that can carry the ball too, which will keep them fresh towards later on in the year. So yes, I think they take the next step. as long as they can stay healthy.
You know, and those, and you are alluding to this, but as the playoffs start, you will see them get the ball more.
100%.
Save them during the year a little bit more with some quality guys, right? They're not the only two guys, but then as it becomes winning time, so to speak, they'll start getting it more, I'm sure.
Well, and here's what's fun. So let's look at the first game of the year, the border battle. It's not a region game. Now, it's an important game to those two communities, but, you know, do you do everything you can to win that game on either side? You know, if you're Independence, you don't really need to lose Jackson Campbell at quarterback. If you're at Summit, you don't need to lose Destin Wade. Both those guys can run. How much do you run them? You know?
Yeah.
Trust me, both head coaches are thinking about that.
Top story this year, Tate, any sport, COVID-19, right? That's number one. So, so any other stories in any of the sports that you think about, hey, what's this going to look like? Top story for you, Tate.
Well, I think you said it. Like, do we make it? Can we make it the entire season? You just saw on the news this morning, Monterey. I know that guy, Coach Hughes. I promise you, he's doing things the right way. They had a kid test positive, whatever. For whatever reason, they just shut down for the first 2 weeks. How are we going to handle that? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? We get 3 games under our belt. I don't know. But I would say that's the top story. Do we actually make it the whole way? Glass half full, guys. I think we do, but I think it's going to be, you know, we're going to have to work through this thing. I'm interested in Jackson Campbell. He's moving to quarterback. Coach Blade knows how to play quarterback, coach quarterbacks. Ethan Cash, with Garcia at quarterback, obviously he got so much of the pub, but Ethan Cash was a dang good football player last year, and with Granzow too. Jackson was an all-state wide receiver. Think about that. And now he's moving to quarterback. And you know Blade didn't put him there if he's not good at quarterback. You know what I'm saying? I'm very interested in that. I want to see how he does.
I like Campbell's demeanor. We did the media day. He's very much type A, sort of in charge.
Just give me the ball.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
But think about that. Going from, you know, it's one thing to go from wide receiver to running back or something, but, you know, that's a big
in that system.
In that system, yeah, because
it's not like he's just turning around.
We're going to throw it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You like that? Was that a good one?
No, I think that's really good. How about this? Let's talk football now. Who do you think has the chance to be the biggest surprise in terms of a team?
Centennial does. I think, you know, when you looked at the predictions, that's the way that came out. I don't think everybody thinks that the top 4 are set, and that's the way it's going to be. And I think Coach Kreisky's going to have them. I think he's going to have them ready. He's definitely going to be using his locker room material. But yeah, I think they could be the surprise team. I think they're going to give those other 4 in front of them tough games.
It's time for our picks. And I thought, you know, I didn't really want to do this, but I thought I would remind everybody how it went last year.
Thank you.
And by the way, and I know Lance will put this up on the screen. Come Friday, I know everybody's looking forward to this on Twitter at WCS CO Athletics. Our fans will have an opportunity to make their picks. We did it all last year. In 4th place, woefully last, was Dr. Qualls. I was in.
He closed the gap, though.
He did. And I finished 3rd. I was a little bit embarrassed. I finished behind the armchair quarterback fans. They finished 1 game ahead of me. And then Tate, you finished 1st place. And actually, I'm giving Dr. Qualls a hard time. There was 1 game between all finishers. So Qualls picked 73 winners. I picked 74. The fans picked 75. And then Tate, Mr. Football Mathews, picked 76.
You know, but I think, including the fans, all 4 of us, we're emotional people, right? I know that's my problem. I pick with emotion. So I think I could have been up over 86 if I wasn't so dang, you know.
Well, here's emotional. Your chance. Here's your chance. Let's go with our picks. Here we go.
Starting off good.
I'm going to start off.
All right.
Brentwood at Nolensville. Nolensville obviously losing Kutris, Rickert, Ware. Those are big names. But they do have Gallardi back. And who else do they have back? Our favorite guy.
My man, Sampson. He's no longer a freshman.
No longer a freshman. So I think they're maybe a little better than people think. Not that people don't think they're good, but I think they've got another strong team with a chance to go really deep again. However, Brentwood, we're talking different level. To me, I think Brentwood is the team to beat. in 6A. I think they are the team to beat. I think Ravenwood finishes second, Brentwood first. We'll see about the playoffs. Of course, that's happened the last couple of years too. But I think that Brentwood depth will really show up in the second half. I'm picking Brentwood.
Brentwood, I agree. I'm going with Brentwood too. I think that Ryder Gallardi is, I'm glad you mentioned him. He's as good as any quarterback we've got in here. He is going to have a huge year in 4A. And I think Coach Derrick, young head coach, but had been under Coach Hester's shadow for a while. Coach Derrick and his staff, there are people out there that will tell you that might be the best staff around. Jabbo came back, so yeah, they're going to be prepared, but they just don't have the firepower that Brentwood has. And again, Mr. Granzow, it's just going to be too hard to get them off the field. Brentwood.
Ravenwood at Centennial. What say you, Mr. Mathews?
I'm going.
Which, by the way, I think is senior night for Centennial. We have suggested, which I think is a good play, to have senior night early in the year, just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case. So I believe it is senior night.
That is a gym. Is that the first gym?
That is the
year?
gym
of the year.
Senior night.
Well, I just said I think Centennial could be the biggest surprise team of the year, and I think they will be. They're not going to be the surprise team of the night of the year on Friday night. I think Ravenwood wins. Ravenwood's too. They got too much depth for them, too much firepower, I think.
So we both pick Ravenwood.
Yes. All
right, game 3, Franklin hosting Siegel. Obviously, I'm going Homer, WCS, but I believe it anyway. Franklin wins that game, and they could be. They could be. I know I said this last year, right, about being the surprise. But they could be this. They've got the Hogs now up front.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
There's a chance you and I could run through that.
Holy smokes.
They've got Amsler. They've got Jones. They've got Anderson. That's probably, I'm just going to make it up, but I think it's like 280, 270, 250.
Yeah, I think Amsler's close to 3.
I mean, that's big time right there. So I think Franklin makes a statement in
the young
game
people
1.
Don't remember this, but you remember the Washington Redskins, the Hogs in the 80s?
Not the fans in the crowd.
That's right.
But the
Russ Grimm and Jacob.
Yeah.
They have the Hogs.
Mark May.
Mark May.
He was a Hog.
And Coach Webb, he likes that. He likes Hogs. Siegel is better than they were last year. Coach Renshaw, who's actually a former assistant to Coach Crawford, he's got that program headed back up. So I promise you, they're better than they were last year. But I'm with you. Frank, hey, it's early. We're out of shape. The Hogs are going to lean on them and lean on them. They're going to be gassed come the third quarter. The Rebels.
So we've got the same pick so far. Here's where it might start changing up a little bit. The Battle of 840, Fairview, the Yellow Jackets at the Page Patriots. Tate, your pick.
Going with the Page Patriots. They're at home. There was a time when in the Battle of 840, the road team seemed to have the edge. I don't know why. Then that's kind of changed a little bit. But I know Coach Hughes is going to have them ready. Every trick play in the book is going to be ready. Be ready for a fake punt. Logan Nardozzi. But I think Coach Rathbone's got a good team this year. I'm going with the Patriots.
Not so fast, my furry-faced friend.
That's a good one.
I'm going Fairview. I know we talk about, and Coach Rathbone will be playing this back, I'm sure, and telling his folks.
No respect.
They dominated that game last year. I think it was 34-6 at Fairview. So I'm going to say the trend remains the same in that the road team wins. I think Fairview's really got a special team this year. I do. A lot of guys back. Coach Hughes is very excited. He's not even playing up that woe is us, little old Fairview as much as normal, which tells me I think he's confident.
Word has it. I don't know for sure. You know the NFL does color rush games?
Oh, I've heard this, yes.
I've heard rumblings, whispers, that this might be a color rush game. Well,
which means the flags and they throw the flags, but they'll agree not to take them. Remember that happens with Brentwood.
Oh, 100%. Hughes will get flagged first play of each half. I'm assuming they've got it worked out with Coach Rathbone. But here's the tricky thing.
Take it, Coach Rathbone. Accept it.
But here's the tricky thing. That's a unsportsmanlike. For each half, then Fairview is under. If Fairview gets another sideline flag, Hughes is gone. That's 2. So it's a little risky.
Coach Rathbone wouldn't do that.
No, he won't have a choice. Yeah, that is the only risk.
I thought they declined the penalty.
He does, but you've had a it's considered a sideline.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's got to be careful.
Do we need to call Coach Hughes up and educate him?
You might want to tell him. I'm sure he knows. But that means they're going to wear, I'm assuming they're going to wear those yellow ones. That's going to be awesome. I think that ought to be.
It's going to be great.
Ravenwood and Brentwood did. I think it's so cool. So cool. I wish everybody did.
But no, it doesn't. I mean, this isn't like a big rivalry, right? But it reminds me, growing up, watching Tennessee and Kentucky.
Well, yeah. I forgot you.
And Commonwealth Stadium.
Yeah. Tennessee and Alabama used to do it.
I love it. I love it. So you're going.
I'm going Page. You're going Fairview.
Okay. So here's our last game. We might differ again. To me, this is a tough one to pick.
Tough one.
Border battle. Summit at Independence. Independence has dominated that rivalry, right? It's a pretty young rivalry in terms of number of years. Summit wins last year. I'm saying for the first time, Summit goes back-to-back, and they go into Independence and win in a shootout. I'm going Old Sparty.
Shootout. A lot of the coaches have said tackling is going to be sloppy this year early on, so I agree with that. That rivalry, here's what's cool. You know, in the last 4 years, it's 2-2, so it really has become even. I'm telling you, I think the unknown of what that Independence offense is going to look like with Jackson Campbell at quarterback, and you know Coach Blade's been planning. There's no film. They got nothing to go off of. So I'm with you. I think it's going to be a shootout. I'm going with Summit, the Spartans, but I think it's going to be fun to watch. Who had ever thought this 5 years ago, or when Coach Coleman was at Forest, you know, with the wing tee? Now it's Air Blade versus Air Coleman. We got a new hashtag, Wheel Route City. This is going to be awesome.
I can't wait.
Summit.
I can't wait. I agree. Tate, unfortunately, no game day this week, but I'm telling you, I'm feeling before the season's over, once we figure out what the games look like, we're going to be back with game day. We've got to be back. Happier. It's one of the best events that takes place in athletics in WCS, in my opinion. The Wilcos, game day, those are staples that Dr. Quall started. We've got to continue them. We'll have game day in some form or fashion before this thing's over.
I can't wait. That would be. Can you imagine how amped up that student body will be, whoever gets the first one?
All 150 of them.
Maybe we got to find a way to pipe them in or something.
We got to pipe them in.
Who's the CTE director here? Maybe you can find out how to do it virtually.
Yes. Tate, always good to see you. I would now.
No bump? Can't bump?
Man. Well, we could, but then we'd have to put the sanitizer on to show people that we're really.
Gotcha.
Well, we'll do no, we're not doing that air hype. I'm not doing that.
No, that's corny.
Yeah.
And we don't ever get corny on this show. Hey, I hope next week boat captain's back. I don't see any boat races this week, but I think there's some next week.
I do too.
And I'm excited about that.
Tate, appreciate you being here.
Good to see you, brother.
We'll see you next time on Sports Connection.